Hey, everybody. This is NFL Chaos with Jeremy, and I am bringing the chaos right after this with Dom C.
I like Hutchinson the best, and I don't think Linderbaum is worth a top 10 pick. Thibodeau slipped, and I am going to grab Thibodeau. The Giants took Khalil Elam. Good for them. Kenyon Green is a guarantee in my mind. He would be such a dream pick right here. Evan Neal is still on the board. I'm not going to pick this now. That 44 pick could be tight end. That 44 pick could be a good linebacker, a good safety. We could drop back one pick and pick up a second rounder for New Orleans. We got options here.
All right, so we got options. We are going to bring on the co-hosts, the man who set this draft up so well. Let me give him a little bit of some intro music to make it nice, pleasant acoustic as we welcome Tom C.
Jeremy,
Going on.
dude, you always bless me with the greatest intro music, man. I feel like I should be walking down the aisle like WWF mid-90s.
Exactly. We'll give you a little. We'll give you a Yankee hat. You'll wear a ripped up T-shirt and call yourself the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, exactly. Or as J. Cole would call me, Prosciutto Boy.
Love it. Let's go and let me. Oh, look at all this fancy stuff right now. Here, let's do this. Let's give you this. We got something nice for you right here. Show everybody who you are.
Hey.
Yeah, there we go. You see that?
And let's do it. Hey, I'm just shouting out Matthias and Grandizer and Bismo and Rusty Spooner. What's up, guys? Mets. I love you too.
Bismo
there.
Bismo Charismo, all the way from Australia.
Whoa. I don't have an Australian accent. I'll leave that to Jeremy.
Matthias Simon, not from some foreign country. Right here, I believe Texas.
What's up, guys?
So
Looking forward to this as always. This is a real bright spot in my week. We have a lot of fun going back and forth. Jeremy and I, bouncing ideas off each other and getting this set up. So I'm looking forward to today because today is, what would be my quasi mock off season, and I know it's not perfect and we can talk about it a little as we go into it, but tomorrow's it, guys. Tomorrow is the start of the tampering period, or if you will, it's just the start of free agency because I'm sure all the deals are getting done now and they just become final at 12 noon tomorrow. I love it, man. I love it. We're in the off season here, folks.
Tomorrow is going to be absolutely insane. I cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting, man. I love it. You're just waiting and news just hits and everybody's racing. I got to work. There's no students in the school. I'm going to try to be on like as much as possible while I'm working so I can react as I find out. So people could just go on and I'll be in there. Just you see me just basically looking at the computer, typing and doing my job. And I don't know. I'm going to figure it out.
Are you on spring break or are the kids virtual?
It's their spring break.
Gotcha.
But I have to work Monday and Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But it's all the excitement's going to be over by then, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Listen, it's going to go on all week, but we're going to hear about that first wave of those big names that at 12:01 it's going to be, they're going to be quote unquote official, even though they can't be made officially official until the season technically starts, which is why I really don't understand this, this time frame of free agency. Why not just call it the start of free agency at 12 noon tomorrow? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing is that they're already talking about is how Barr screwed us from Minnesota when he agreed to come and then it didn't happen. So
I guess in hindsight, I don't know who brought that up. I can't see it in the chat who brought that up, but in hindsight, that's a blessing, don't you guys think? And Watu-K.
He's saying, let's get that fake offer ready for him.
What a blessing that he actually decided to bail on us, or else we'd probably be, swamped burdened with that contract still to this day.
Yeah. No, it actually ended up being a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
gonna yeah, absolutely. It was just more money. It was more mess that would have had to been cleaned up. And there's no pun intended when I say mess. Okay. How can you have how can you have tampering before the tampering period? Well, it happens, but you got to prove it. You know how I know it happens? Because tomorrow, 10 minutes into the tampering period, we're going to hear about deals agreements being reached. And you're going to know there was tampering because there's no way in 10 minutes they agreed. They came to those agreements. So there's definitely already people talking to agents. They're talking numbers.
Listen, I'm sure there's handshake agreement deals in place already. Who we kidding?
Yeah.
Some of these big guys are going to go, and they've already, made themselves available, and these agents have deals, and they just wait for 12 o'clock to do their tampering.
Yep. We're going to get started here with our mock. And the first thing, obviously, we have to do is your off season. You sent me the PowerPoint. Before we get going, everybody, please hit that like button. Give that like button a smash. Let's get people in here. Let's help the algorithm. I don't know how much that really works, but I feel incomplete. I feel like, how can you start doing a mock draft like this without Gitmo Bob here? It's like we're gonna
he'll yell at us. He'll yell at us and grade us a C in an hour or so.
Yeah, he'll suddenly appear criticizing some move that we make, but it just feels naked without him.
True.
So let's get started. I'm going to share screen, and you put together a nice presentation, much nicer than mine, I must say.
It's not that nice. Let's call it what it is. It's very, very simplistic. And while you bring that up, I'm just gonna kind of touch on some stuff that I did with my mock off season. Listen, obviously this was done or put together before any of these big moves came this week, and actually probably as some of them came through. But I'll touch on the guys as we get into the screen. But if you can skip to the next slide, Jeremy.
Okay, let me start the slideshow so it's even bigger, the screen.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, there we go. And I will skip to the next slide for you.
Yeah. So this would be the starting cap before any moves were made. And again, this isn't exact because this didn't take into account the couple moves that the Jets made this week, smaller moves, Will Parks and so on and so forth. So,
Okay.
I worked off of a cap of pre cuts and pre sign-ins of $48,536,765. Now I will say, Jeremy and I both made the decision, since he did it, that I made sure that I kept $20 million in the cap. We weren't sure exactly how much was going to be needed to sign the rookie class. It's probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 13 to 14 million, but Jeremy played with that number 20, so I kept it at 20 itself. So we started the day, the proverbial day, with 48 million in change. And the next slide will go into the guys that I cut. First off, Sheldon Rankins, great player. I think it was a necessary evil. I know that they talked very, very highly of him in the locker room and the presence that he brought, but unfortunately, I don't think his play was, all that to write home about. And I thought at $5.5 million, it was worth the cut. Next was Greg Van Rotten. That's an easy one. Next was Ryan Griffin, who I also thought was an easy one. And then the next few were smaller moves that I think, maybe down the road, these are guys that can come back on our roster, so on and so forth. We started with Kai Nakua, Ty Johnson, Blake Cashman, a.k.a. Blake Glassman. I cut Cam Clark with a little asterisk there, and I designated him a post-June 1st cut because it significantly increased the cap savings, and it significantly decreased the dead money that would be on contract. Right now, if we cut Cam Clark today, I think it would be like a $600,000 saving and about a $700,000 hit on dead money for next season, next year's cap. So if we designated a post June 1st cut, it goes down to $895 and $150.
Nice.
I also cut Austin Walter, who he showed face for us at the last couple games of the season, and he's a guy. He's just a guy. I think we can do better bringing in some guys from free agency, as you'll see. I also cut Isaiah Williams, Tanzel Smart, and Javonte Moffat.
Okay.
So
let's go and say after the releases. Wow, look at that.
Brought us up to $67 million in change, which was wonderful.
Wow. That's a lot of chicken cutlets.
Amen. So the next slide is going to show the guys that I signed with our money. Started off with BJ Hill, defensive lineman from Cincinnati. Again, I know the kid from San Francisco is the talk of the town these days, and he might very well be a Jet come tomorrow or the next couple of days. But BJ Hill's in that second tier. His name's being bantered about already. He has familiarity in the area coming from the Giants before Cincinnati, and I think he'd be a great fit, great run defender. Jordan Whitehead, who's a player I really like, 25-year-old strong safety from Tampa Bay. Can play, does well in man coverage, but does most of his damage up in the box, which is something that I think, we're going to need to address at some point. Obviously, we know what the safety room's like. I also brought in Randy Gregory. This was probably my big splash. 2 years, $23 million. I think it's a fair offer. 20. I think he's 28, 29 years old. So we get him as Dallas is still struggling to, deciding on who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go. I also brought in another defensive lineman, Malik Collins, 27-year-old run stuffing defender for 2 years and $8 million. I addressed the hole in the tight end spot by luring CJ Uzama in 2 years and $15 million. Great outlet for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati past couple years, and now he's going to come catch passes and be our safety valve for Zach Wilson, supporting our quarterback. I also brought in kicker Greg Zuerlein, Greg the Leg from Dallas, because I just can't fathom another year with Eddie Pinheiro. I know I might be the minority, but Zuerlein was cut. I think it's a great option. He's proven himself with the Rams. He proved himself with Dallas last year, and let's see what he can do here. Quentin Spain, a very serviceable guard. I brought him in on a 1-year deal. He's 30 or 31 years old. He played left guard, but has experience playing both left and right. And I think he'd be a perfect fit to come in there with LDT, who I also brought back at 1 year, $2 million in change. So in essence, for 1 year, I spent about $6 million on the guard, and those guys can battle it out. And whoever loses is our first off the bench on the interior. And I think it's a great and safe way to go about it if you're not going to go spend a lot of money on, the high end guys. I brought in Casey Hayward, and it's funny. I've been linking him to the Jets for a long time, and I know that Matt O'Leary also just released something where he liked Casey Hayward to the Jets as well, and I think it's a great fit. He's a little bit older, but he's a solid veteran to bring in to add to our defensive back room. On top of that, he's phenomenal in zone. I secured Jacoby Brissett as our backup to Zach Wilson. I re-signed LaMarcus Joyner, Will Parks, and Connor McDermott, just copying what the Jets did. I didn't know, to be completely transparent, I didn't know what they re-signed LaMarcus Joyner for. So I went ahead and gave him 1 year at $2 million, which is, probably right around what I think it's going to be. So again, there's a lot of things that were, a lot of things different than Jeremy's from last week. You know, I did not bring back Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios in this situation, this hypothetical situation, walks. I did not. I addressed the defensive line. I really, in losing Rankins, I kind of re-upped that position with bringing in two better, younger, more stout run defenders in B.J. Hill and Malik Collins, who can both. Malik Collins can also get at the quarterback when necessary. So, again, thinking about Ulbrich and Saleh and how they like to rotate those defensive linemen, I got some fresh bodies in there. So you put those two guys in there with a combination of of Quentin and Franklin, and then you tie in and Randy Gregory with Bryce Huff. Hopefully, what happens we do here at the end, when we bring back and Lawson comes back healthy, if we address the end in the draft at all, we have a healthy 8-man rotation to go in there that I feel completely comfortable with. On top of that, we really addressed the holes that we had at the safety position. We brought in Jordan Whitehead, who's a really good young starting caliber safety, tied in with who we already have, and then tied in with LaMarcus Jordan. We have a healthy 3-man safety rotation that I feel comfortable with. And then we filled in some other holes. We brought in 2 guards to battle it out and to see who's going to win that right guard spot. We brought in our kicker. We brought in our backup quarterback, and we're ready to go here.
Yeah. It looks like the one thing we're clearly going to need in the draft is some wide receivers.
Yeah, listen.
Just fine.
I didn't address the wide receiver spot. And like I said, I just tried to. My focus was what I think that JD's focus is, and it might be against what a lot of Jet fans want to see is, and against what we're reading, what I'm reading a lot is that, I don't know if we're going to go after those heavy 12, 15, the Marcus Williams of the world or the Allen Robinson of the world. I addressed kind of the second tier guys, fill in the holes that we need. And Gitmo Bob, as I expected, a D+. That's okay. I can live with that, Gitmo.
So this is an interesting thing. We have this Gitmo Bob, right? But then we also have this Gitmo Bob. One has an S on it, and I'm already thinking I know who this is. I have a feeling I know who the mysterious fake Gitmo Bob is.
And who's that? J. Cole?
Of course. The S is for spaghetti. I'm guessing the S is for spaghetti. So we have that. We already have a lot of nonsense going on.
I'm going to answer Jet mess real quick. He said, "Why are you cutting Rankins if you're going to sign Collins?" Well, again, you got younger, you got cheaper, and you got somebody who can really address, the holes in the run defense that we're missing with Foley not coming back, and that's it. That was really my thought process around it.
It's an interesting question, John Post. The postman's here. He's saying, "Why do we put up with this nonsense?" I don't know. I guess it just kind of fits in with the whole name of the show, Chaos, right? I don't know. Look, he's saying I'm spaghetti, so I don't know what's going on. All right. So anyway, I don't know what the real Gitmo Bob thinks. He may have left. He might be furious right now. But okay, I am okay with. It's funny because I know a lot of people would be upset that there's no wide receiver. I like the draft that's coming. And it makes me go into this draft thinking, and right away I'm going with the mindset of the draft that we're going to do. And I'm fine with this, is we're going to need to grab a wide receiver.
Listen,
there's for sure at least one, and if not two. But I also want to point out that we left $20 million, and I think that's probably going to end up giving us $5 million of cap flexibility as well.
Sure. Again, what we got to remember, this is hypothetical.
Yeah.
This isn't every free agent signing that they would make in this scenario. And again, I just tried to attack it at a different angle. With filling holes and spots in free agency that we haven't targeted or touched on, because that in turn can really affect the players or the moves that we make, either going up or down in the draft as well.
Yeah, and I'm fine, but because I want our WR1 to come from either two places. I want it to come from Elijah Moore stepping up as a clear WR1, or I want it to be a Traylon Burks or this guy or that guy. There are a lot of wide receivers I like near the end of the draft. Like, I have no problem taking 2 WRs in this draft. Let's just say this was our offseason because the wide receivers wanted too much money. Okay, we go in, and to me, I'm thinking I want to draft 2 wide receivers, which is fine, and it could happen if we don't bring anybody substantial. If what's his face, if Berrios wants too much money, there's a very good chance we're going to have to draft 2 wide receivers, and that's okay. I still think we need at least 1 tight end. I like the signing of that we have a veteran, a proven guy in there, and we're still, I'm going to go into this draft thinking I still want a tight end, and obviously we need linebackers.
Yep, linebacker. That's what I would say from a far angle up top is linebackers, wide receivers. And it gives us flexibility. It gives us flexibility to move down if we want. It just say, and I'm just throwing out a name. Just say it's Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean is really the target. It's no one we have to look at it for. That could be a perfect opportunity to trade down, or 10 if to trade down, so on and so forth, to secure those guys, and maybe grab an extra pick or 2 so that we can double up at the positions that we didn't address in free agency. The good thing is that I think this role, this hypothetical situation that I put in this offseason, if we didn't come out of here with a safety, I'm comfortable. Between Ashton Davis, LaMarcus Joyner, and Jordan Whitehead.
Yeah. I don't agree that you're spending too much money on the DL. I think it was a huge issue for us last year, and I'd rather have 2 guys to team with Q Williams who can stuff the run than 1.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Randy Gregory is he's viable. I mean, he's a viable pass rusher. You know what I mean? He's something that the Jets need. And again, take it with a grain of salt for this hypothetical situation. Pass rush on the defensive line, especially at the end position, is what we need. In this situation, we've added Randy Gregory, on a short-term 2-year deal where we have the money to spend. So why not do it? It doesn't preclude us from drafting another edge, But I think our defensive line, especially between the middle and the edge, are a lot better than where we started going into the season with these moves that we made here. I'll sub out Rankins for BJ Hill and all day long.
Yep. So I think we helped Zach by getting putting another viable guard onto the roster to compete with LDT. So it doesn't mean we can't take somebody if the situation is right. And we bring in a tight end, a proven, experienced tight end, which I think is important, because no matter who we bring in the draft, you want an experienced guy there. I think he's a much better receiving tight end, a much better weapon than anybody we had on the roster anyway. So I think we've already gotten off to the start of helping Zach. And remember, anything we do to improve that defense helps Zach indirectly, because we got to get Zach back onto that field.
Yeah. Listen,
we can't have him. We can't have the other team hold the ball for 9 minutes as they walk down the field and score a touchdown.
Listen, guys, this was my off season here was very calculated. I didn't spend money on any of the big guys. I didn't, and I did that purposely. I wanted to see what the team would look like if we shied away from those top tiers, if we shied away from the Allen Robinsons and the Marcus Williams of the world and the Tyrone Matthews of the world. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that, based on what is here we're in a better spot than we are. There's still holes, and regardless, there's going to be holes whichever way you go. If we spent $15 million a year on Marcus Williams and $12 million a year on Tyrone Matthew and $10 to $12 million a year on a linebacker or something like that, well, then we still have holes on the defensive front, right? If we don't spend $10 million bringing in another cornerback and another safety, or like I did with Whitehead and who did I bring in at corner? Good Lord.
You brought in that guy for $7 million.
Yeah, dropping it. His name's coming right off the.
Hold on, let me find it.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think we're gonna have holes regardless.
Yeah,
So,
no, we're not solving just like when we were just doing the draft. We're not solving everything. We're not solving everything with one draft, with one or the other, with free agency or the draft.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to take both, the combination of both, to solve all the problems, right? Or to fill all the holes. So let me look really fast. You signed the cornerback is Casey Hayward from
Casey Hayward. Good Lord, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. And the strong safety was Jordan Whitehead from Tampa.
Jordan Whitehead, who's a great player.
Yeah.
Jordan Whitehead's a great player. 25. Outside of Quentin Spain, everybody's under the age of 28. There's no real long-term deals. No one's overpaid. Again, I think something along these lines, the names might be different, but something along these lines could be a tactic. It falls in line with the tactic of what Joe Douglas has shown that he's not going to overpay and that he's willing to bypass the top tier guys to secure, good talent at what he thinks is fair market value on the second and third tier.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm okay with it. I'm not judging anything until we're done. We're going to wait until we're completely done, and then we're going to know how we did, because we're about to draft a lot of players. And when we look at everything, the whole big picture, we'll have a lot more answers about what our team is going to look like. So I'll zoom in as soon as we're going to start the draft. I got to select Jets and 7 fast speed, and here we go.
And it's you start off.
Yep. So the first pick off the board was Aiden Hutchinson. Then it was Malik Willis at quarterback. Evan Neal went at tackle, which means Thibodeau is still on the board. You did bring in a veteran guy from Dallas. So let me look at the trades right now, knowing that Thibodeau is still on the board. We got Baltimore offering us a first and second and the second next year. So you can see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell them to kick tires. That's a bullshit offer. Atlanta saying, do you want to trade down to 8 and get pick 43? So I don't know what your plan was. But even with signing an end, I'm still going to take Thibodeau. I can't pass up on him. I don't care what people say about him leaving the combine. I don't care. I want a young guy that we're going to have on the team for a minimum of 5 years, if not longer. That's going to be a superstar. Carl Lawson, give me edges all day long. Move JFM back to the inside. That's fine. Right? We're going to strengthen that rotation. I can't let Thibodeau walk by us, so I'm going to take him. Boom.
Thibodeau's off the board.
The pick goes to you. Thibodeau's off the board.
I don't trade into division, so you can tell Miami goodbye.
Okay, and I'll show you who's still on the board for us. How about this one? Do you like this pick? This trade?
It's not. Yeah, I can see it. It's not a bad offer. I'm going to consider it, but let's go. What's the next trade? No, I'm not going down that far.
Yeah.
So we can go back to Cleveland, but can you go over for me, Jeremy, or that way, so I can see who was taken after Thibodeau. It went Ikem Ekwonu, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Trayvon Walker, and Tyler Linderbaum. Okay, so here's my thought process.
Yeah.
Probably would have taken Garrett Wilson if he was on the board.
Okay, let's take a look at who's there right now.
Sure. I see Kyle Hamilton. I see Jordan Davis. I see Charles Cross. I see Jameson Wilson, Karlaftis, Pennin, Pickett, Ojabo, Stingley. Everyone from there we know.
Ooh, they redid the rankings, didn't they? Look how
They
high
did.
they got. Look at where they got Zion Johnson now.
I love it. I love it. So here's my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to consider moving back with Cleveland.
Okay.
And here's why. There's two positions that you covered the edge, and I agree with you on taking the edge. At 4, that Atlanta trade, we could have traded back and still been in good shape, but I think this is a very similar trade. I don't think we had lost anything. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to counter the Cleveland pick.
Okay.
And I want a 6th next year. See if they'll bite. Probably not, because the value that they're given is probably enough.
Declined.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and take the trade. And I'm going to move back 3 spots. I think I can still fill the needs that I want. Who went off the board with 10, 11, and 12, if you don't mind, Jeremy?
Kyle Hamilton. That's who they traded for. Jameson Williams, the wide receiver, and Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle.
Okay. I see it. I'm going to pass on that deal. Pittsburgh wants us to move back to 20. I'm going to pass on that. Oh, wait. There's 52. It's probably not enough. What's the next one? I'm still not moving back to the Bengals, so you can delete that one. So here's my thought process, guys. I'm between 2 players. I'm between 3 players. I'm between London and Treylon Burks and Nakobe Dean. And I'm saying that not because Iowan suggested it, but that's a guy that I think would be a great fit in our scheme and a perfect, Robin to the Batman that we have already right now in Mosley, and more so, I think we have the ability to move on from Mosley next year relatively easily. So I think he could step in. Now the question is, do I take one of those guys now and secure it, or do I roll the dice and move back with Pittsburgh?
What to do? What to
do is right. I'm going to go ahead. Man, this is tough.
I say that all 3 guys you mentioned, 2 out of the 3 will be there at 20, right?
In this, with the algorithm that PFN offers, probably.
What about in real life?
I don't know. In real life,
out of Treylon Burks, Nakobe Dean, and Drake London, you don't see one of those guys being around the 20?
I think there's a possibility that 1 or 2 of them could be easily. I think there's a possibility that all 3 could go. Man, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the pick.
The pick, okay.
I'm going to take the pick.
Who are you taking?
I'm going to take my wide receiver 2 on the board, and I'm going to take Drake London. Drake London offers he's exactly the type of receiver that we don't have on the roster. He's a true X. He's a red zone threat. I know what everyone's going to say about his separation off the line, but he doesn't, he separates in different ways. He plays like a power forward, on the basketball court. He's got a ridiculous catch radius with those 6'5" and that wingspan. So I'm comfortable taking that and bringing in our X receiver. And now Jeremy's up.
All right. And with pick 35, we got a trade on the table. Carolina is offering us their first round pick next year to trade down to 107.
Oof.
Let me tell you something. I would not be mad if Joe Douglas did something like this. But my problem is, the reason I think he shouldn't is New York, the Jet fans aren't being very patient. And they've got to win 8 games, this season. They really need to win 8 games this season to calm everybody down. So for that reason, I'm going to look at the next deal. San Francisco wants us to go down to 61 and take a 2nd and 6. So I'm just going to let these go. And with my pick, look at Trent McDuffie sitting there. He slipped.
Be nice.
We got Trent McDuffie up there. A lot of people are down on him. He is a good cornerback.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the second quarterback off the board, truth be told. The fact that Stingley didn't run or didn't take part in the combine, in the physicals, the flag is still flying pretty high on him. He'll have to have a phenomenal pro day, which he can have. But the hype for McDuffie is real. I just think that he's very, very scheme specific and happens to be the scheme that we run.
Mm. My issue is, the real problem I have is knowing the real board, like real life. I just got to think in this position, if he's there, we just have to grab Trey McBride. And we just have to fix this tight end situation like long term. And just have a top tier tight end for years to come. So I'm just going to grab Trey McBride right there.
Okay.
You're being offered a trade to trade down to 60.
Not interested.
Okay.
So here we are, second pick in the second round. Still lots of value here. We could double up at the receiver. We could. I'd like to see the running back. I mean, the linebackers that are on the board.
Okay.
If you don't mind, Jeremy.
No problem. So I see Christian Harris and Chad Muma down there, but let me show you.
So we did gain a second rounder, if I'm not mistaken, moving back with Cleveland, right?
Something in the 50s, like 54, I think.
Yeah. I'm not going to wait, and I'm going to take linebacker Christian Harris from Alabama. I just finished up my my article on the linebackers for greenbeanjetsfan.com, and he was one of the guys that I watched and did a lot of work on, and I really, really like his game, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal NFL player. Yeah, I know what everyone's going to say. If you waited, you probably could have got him later. He's not going to go, but we take into the account the algorithm that PFN throws out here. I'm trying to think more realistically, and I think that this area between 35 and 50 is fair value for Christian Harris. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and secure us a linebacker there. And Jeremy's up.
Okay. So you did us a good thing. You did us a solid. This trade is tempting. I'm not going to lie. This tempts me. Give us another extra pick, 75. And all it costs us is a 6th. I don't like going down 20 spots, but it's tempting. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And then to go down to 58 and gain a 74, that's pretty tempting as well. Both of those are tempting offers that it's hard not to consider that. That extra pick is nice. And this one doesn't ask for a 6. So let's see. That's 64, and we have to lose a 6 and get a 75. This is a much better offer from Atlanta. It makes no sense, right? I mean, I think Denver's better than Atlanta, so I think, well, it doesn't matter. Because we're not talking about, this one, we don't have to give away a future pick, and we get a 74. With Denver, we get 75. Denver wants our 6th. They want us to go. Obviously, the Atlanta is a no-brainer if you're going to take a trade.
Correct.
I think I'm going to do it. I think that's 74. You and me are going to make real good with that pick, whoever has it.
Okay.
So
Let's rock.
I'm going to accept that and drop down. And there we are. I am probably not going to drop down anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I would just get rid of those.
Yeah. And I'm not going to deal with Dallas. And here's what I'm going to do. This is going to be controversial. Very controversial pick coming, considering what we've already done. I want to refresh what we've done. We have taken an edge, a wide receiver, Trey McBride, a tight end, a linebacker. Remember, in your offseason, you did bring in a safety, and we already signed LaMarcus Joyner. We do have another cornerback that you brought in from the Raiders. So it's not like we haven't addressed that. We addressed linebacker. We addressed edge double up because we did that in the offseason. What we didn't do is we didn't bring back Berrios. We only had going into this, forget about Mims for the time being because he's a project at this point. We don't know what to expect. We only had Elijah Moore and Corey Davis, really. You added Drake, which I really like. He's not my favorite, though. So I'm gonna give us some insurance there. I'm gonna make sure that we're really strong at receiver this year. I'm gonna give us a great future for receivers. I'm gonna make sure Zach always has weapons, and we're gonna terrorize the league and terrorize other teams' secondaries because we're gonna grab Christian Watson here and double up on wide receiver.
I like it. Listen, realistically, I think the hype on Christian Watson is real. I've been talking about him for a long time. Not to say that I'm, I saw something that a lot of people didn't see. I just happened to, kind of hone in on him early. There's a high likeliness that he's going to be a first round pick. I'll say this. It wouldn't shock me in the least if he goes towards the end of the first round. Not in the least. So here at 50, whatever, I think it's great value. I think it helps our offense. I think it's a good need. He can play on the special teams. If we didn't bring anybody back to return punts, you can put Christian Watson back there. He has familiarity with him. He's a special teams ace. So I'm not going to argue. I knew he was going to be your pick at some point, whether it was here or later. So I'm not going to argue with it. And we're up again at round 3, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to trade back with Philly there. Now, realistically, I've already made a trade with Cleveland, so I'm going to keep 69. It's a good pick. And I'm going to go ahead. Can you just show me the cornerback room, if you don't mind? Yeah. I like Emerson. Yeah, I think he's more of a man. I think he's more of a press man coverage. Defensive back, Kobe Bryant's great, but I think the value for the position as we have it is too good. I'm going to go ahead and draft Chad Muma.
Oh, okay.
The linebacker.
So we've now doubled up on tight ends. So if CJ
and listen, Muma and Harris are two different kind of guys too. Yeah, so again, we've had the ability with these draft picks to we built a baseline of depth with our free agent moves, and now we've added more layers of depth and quality players in the 2 receivers and the 2 linebackers we brought in.
Mm.
And Jeremy, you're up.
If I remember correctly, you let Austin go, the running back.
I did.
Did you bring in a new running back?
I think I brought in Sony Michel, if I'm not mistaken.
You did.
Yeah, I forgot to talk about him, and that was on I think he's he's a perfect complement to what we have in Michael Carter. He's a bigger guy, kind of that inside the tackles kind of runner. Still offer something out of the backfield and a perfect complement. But those are. I didn't bring back any other running backs, so I let go of Walter. I didn't bring back Tevin Coleman. I cut Ty Johnson. So running back, I think would be great here. If there was a safety or a cornerback on the board that really, what was really good value, you thought, I think that'd be a good pick. I think offensive lineman would be a good pick.
Yeah, I'm torn between Leon O'Neal and Kirby Joseph. I think it's a little early for Kirby Joseph. It's not that early because we might miss out on him. Let me see what our next pick after 74 is. Not till 110. We'd probably lose him if we didn't take him now. I'm just trying to decide if I think Kirby Joseph. I know he's a sleeper, and he's probably better than his ranking, but is he better than Leon O'Neal?
I think they're different players. I mean, O'Neal's more in your face. O'Neal hits. I mean, he's a vicious shooting missile, but he's more of your traditional box safety. Again, I hate to use the name Jamal Adams, and I'm not comparing him to Jamal Adams, but in that mold, does a lot of his damage at the line. He's not a guy that you want to put in deep center field. Where on the flip side, I think Kirby can play back there. Kirby's more of a Swiss Army knife kind of defensive back. He's gonna do a little bit more in man coverage.
Yeah. Man, I see a couple of things I like. So I also like Alec Lindstrom too.
Now, listen, not a bad. Like I said, I think we've offered ourselves plenty of options, if nothing more.
Yeah, you brought in. Just imagine that guard position. Imagine it being a 3-man competition.
Well, listen.
No, actually, if we brought in Alec Lindstrom, we could either keep him on the bench to develop for a year.
Sure.
Or if he shows to be really good, we can cut McGovern and free up $9 million.
Well, again, options. We have options, and remember, both guards that were brought in this hypothetical situation are both in their 30s. They're here on 1-year deals. They're relatively cheap. Again, we spent $6 million to bring in 2 guards to that will be more than serviceable, but they're not, they're no AVTs, So adding a younger piece on the offensive line, I still think is something that we're going to have to do at some point during this draft. Like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to adding another. I wouldn't be opposed to adding a running back. I wouldn't be opposed to adding another offensive lineman here. I wouldn't be opposed to adding another defensive back if you thought the value was right.
Yeah, the difference between as much as I like Isaiah Spiller, there's a lot of running backs in this draft. There are guys we can still grab that will be there with our next pick if we wanted to go that route. Whereas there's no other center I would take in this draft. So this is the last of the offensive linemen that I think could be possibly plug and play. And this could be the guy that fills that center position for years to come after McGovern, if no matter for whenever he starts. So that's what I'm going to do.
Alec Lindstrom's a pick, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Like I said, can't argue with it.
Okay, so you have a trade offer from the Washington football team. I don't know if there's a lot of value in this because the 188 or the 6th looks. I think the 6th has more value than the 188. Well, it's next year or so.
I'm going to pass on that, Jeremy.
Ooh, look at my guy sitting right up there, but we've already taken 2 tight ends. But look at my guy. Look at my linebacker.
Troy Anderson?
Oh man, do I love that kid.
He's another guy I did a lot of work on. He's good. He's a phenomenal athlete, but and a great player to bring on as a project, but that's exactly what he is as a project.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you if that's the top of the board.
I don't know. You know what I'm trying to do to you.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to torture you. That is the top of the board. Yeah.
Okay. Verone McKinley is a definite option. I think he's phenomenal value here in the 4th round. Flip on the safeties. I just want to see who else is on the board. I lost it, Jeremy.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Can you just?
Sorry. I gotta zoom in, right?
Yes. So Nick Cross is another great player. JT Woods is another great player who had a phenomenal combine. The guy's an athletic freak. Oof. I like all 3 of those guys. Can you flip on the cornerbacks if you don't mind?
Sure. Oh, not much doing there.
No. No one that really wets my whistle there. Marcus Jones is a nice player, but I think he's a 5th or 6th rounder. One more position, Jeremy. Go to the running backs.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's plenty of good guys. Plenty of good guys. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and draft a running back. It's probably a name that nobody knows all that much because there hasn't been a lot of hype around him. But he was a phenomenal player in college. Was lucky enough to run wild in the ACC. I'm going to go ahead and take Donovan Knight, the running back out of NC State.
Okay, NC State, baby, Wolfpack.
And for those who don't know, click on his little bio there, if they have anything.
Yep, I'll make it big so people can read it. Hopefully.
Sure. Oh. Yeah. Donovan Knight is I don't know why he's not getting more love than he's getting, but he's done nothing but produce. He's young. He's only going to be 22 come draft day. He doesn't have too much tread on the tires. He ran behind Ikemakwanu and a phenomenal offensive line. But the guy just produces. He's good. I think he's phenomenal zone blocking scheme running back where he's going to make one cut and go. Again, doesn't have the straight line. The straight line speed, but he's got enough long speed to be productive. And he's big enough to take a hit, as you see there at 209. So I'm going to go ahead and take Donovan Knight.
Okay, 5'10", 209. You are controversial. You're taking Donovan Knight.
I don't know how controversial it is.
I think because Vernon McKinley is there at safety, and because I think people like James Cook because of his brother.
Yeah, but we got to pick right now.
Okay, so I got 116. I'm on the clock. I'm going to go back and look and see what happened at, Jeff Gunter is off the board at 115. Denver took Jeff Gunter, one of Rusty's guys right there. I'm going to go back to that.
Is Gunter the edge from Coastal Carolina? Is that him?
Yes.
Yeah. He's good. He's good. He's fast.
I like him. I'm looking at the defensive right now, the defense, and I'm very happy to see that Verone McKinley is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to snatch him up right there and consider myself very
Great
lucky.
Pick. Great pick. Phenomenal value.
Yeah. I know people want Troy Anderson. We've taken 2 tight ends. So let me show everybody what we've taken so they understand our situation.
Sure.
After an off season where we've obtained a safety, we've obtained an edge, we've obtained a cornerback, all decent players. We've obtained a running back in Sonny Mitchell. We brought in a guard. We brought in just solid players to fill holes and bring more talent. We recognized that we didn't re-sign Braxton Berrios, so we needed some wide receivers. We brought in Drake London and Christian Watson because you can never have too many edges, and Kayvon Thibodeau's on the board. We took him because even though we brought in a good tight end in CJ from Cincinnati, we decided to get Trey McBride. Remember the running back? We got London and Christian Watson there. And then because we didn't bring any tight ends, we just took Christian Harris and Chad Muma.
Linebackers,
I'm sorry. And Alec Lindstrom was my pick for center. I wanted a future center right now. And we grabbed him because I thought it was good value there. And then Donovan Knight at running back. So now we have Donovan Knight, Sony Mitchell, and Michael Carter, and Verone McKinley to go with our free agent signing. So now I think with LaMarcus Joyner also being signed, we definitely have built depth at the safety position. We now have depth at the linebacker position. We have a lot of depth at the edge position. You brought in 2 defensive tackles, and now we can move JFM to the inside with Quinton Williams. We got 8 to 9 defensive linemen now. So we're really good and strong there, very versatile. Got a lot of strength on our defensive line. I think we completely turned this defense around, to be honest. The only thing we didn't we even brought in another cornerback in Hayward. So, I mean, I think we completely transformed the defense at this point.
Sure. I listen. I think based on the offseason, this hypothetical offseason, this draft couldn't have gone any better. I really believe that. So now we got 2 fifth-round picks. Realistically, guys, I know at least the Jets wouldn't come into this draft taking all of these picks. They'd probably move up and or trade out for net picks next year. But this doesn't allow us to do that.
Yeah, we could trade. We could trade this pick 146 if we wanted for a pick next year if you wanted.
Okay. I'd like to see what's on the board.
Okay.
And here I'm thinking, like I said, I'm thinking developmental best player available. I don't think we have a true position to need. Al Cole Strange is sitting there right in our face, right there, man. He'd be great. Yusef Corker, another good safety. I'm not familiar with Michael Clemens. I'd be lying if I was. Garrett, you can keep going. Just scroll down. Mikael Wright, Tyler Goodson, Sterling Weatherford, who's a dandy, a sleeper of mine. Now, here's a name, guys. Here's a name that I like. Right, stop right there for a second, Jeremy. Go up a little bit. Yeah. Cameron Jurgens. All right. I know that we drafted Alec Lindstrom. All right. But I think the value of someone like Jurgens, who can not only play center, but could bounce left or right into the guard spot, it's somebody that I'm going to consider again, because at this point you want to take the best player available. Scroll down a little bit more, Jeremy. Cunningham's a great player too. Zamir White, Charleston Rambo, Hines. You just sold me. I know who I'm taking. Wait, scroll down one more time.
Okay.
I'm between 2 guys here. I'm between Strange and Turner.
I saw him sitting there. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, listen, he's he's something different than what we have, and he would push. He'd probably push Kenny Yeboah right now, for his spot on the roster. As it stands, he offers a skill set that the other tight ends that we brought in don't, and that's that ability to flex out, run down the seam, more receiver than inline blocking tight end. Usama and Trey McBride are both fabulous receivers, but they're limited. They have limitations. Turner offers the things that we don't have. There's not a tackle here that really, really say, oh, I have to get Cunningham is a guy, because I think we could bring in another offensive tackle, but we do have one more position. We do have one more spot left. So I'm going to go ahead and take Turner from Nevada.
Oh, you're going to take Turner. Okay. Let me find him.
Tight end. Yeah,
okay.
He's a receiving guy. He's got skill set that our tight end room doesn't have right now, and I really like it. Like I said, he pushed Kenny Yeboah for his roster spot as we speak.
I think that Cameron Jurgens now becomes way too good to pass up on, possibly.
You're absolutely right.
When
Now
they
I
look-
don't know. Like I said, Jurgens is a fabulous. He's fabulous value here. I don't know if he's got the chops or the skill set to bounce outside the tackle. But like I said, the value might be too good to pass up at this point. You know,
Right.
we are leaving ourselves weak. We are leaving ourselves a little thin at tackle. You know, as we have it right now, we have our two mainstays in Fant and Mekhi Becton. We also have Chuma Doga on the roster. So we are a little bit light at tackle.
I just don't see anybody there.
Max Mitchell was a guy that I loved, but he tested so bad. The kid from Arizona State, Deesh, is not terrible either. I don't think he'd be here at this point, to be honest with you. I think he's more of a late third, early fourth round pick. So I think the value on him would be pretty good. Max Mitchell, like I said, he was a guy I was really high on, and then it was really disappointed on how unathletic he tested.
Well, I think we have to get a tackle in. So I'm just going to take Kellen Dyche. I'll go by your advice for
Listen,
that.
If gun to my head, Dyche or Max Mitchell would probably be my pick. Like I said, Max Mitchell was a guy that I really, really liked coming out of Louisiana. Is pro set, ready to block. He was physical. Playing. He's a physical player. He's agile enough to play on the right side. And get into the second blocker. But like I said, he tested. He was either last or in the last quarter of every single athletic testing, broad jump, long jump, the 3-cone, everything that he tested he just tested poorly. I was just like, man, hate to see it. So I'd probably go with the kid from Arizona State, Deesh. He's doesn't have to start, not going to start. He's going to come in and he's going to be our third or fourth tackle, off. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I think we have to put a tackle in the room. So I'm just going to take, Jeffrey Reed thinks so as well. And Jeffrey Reed is never wrong. So I'm going to just grab a defense.
I'm going to trust Jeffrey Reed too.
Yeah.
Like I said, Deesh is a good player. He's not, and the beautiful thing is, like I said, I've said it the whole time during this draft. So we got options. We just have to fill. We have the ability to take players and develop them and build like that. So we left this draft. The only thing I think we didn't address, which I know people are going to fault us for, is cornerback. But let's bank on the young corners that we have in our room. Tied in with Casey Hayward.
Yeah, you brought in Peyton Hayward.
Yeah, he's a short-term band-aid on a bullet hole. But
we don't know that Eccles is not going to take a major step forward. He was a rookie. We don't know. He still possibly could take a big step.
You're right.
I wouldn't want to count on it, and that's what Hayward's for, right? Now we have a proven guy we know could play at a decent level.
Absolutely. So how do we look, Jeremy? Read it through.
Well, I'm liking, even without the free agency, I'm liking the players that we brought in for sure. I mean, even Nick Shine would be proud of this. I mean, we're talking about Kayvon Thibodeau. We're talking about Drake London, Trey McBride. So there's your freaking tight end one. That's probably a guy. I'd be so happy if we take Trey McBride in this draft. If they come up to that podium and say his name, I'm going to be so happy. Christian Harris, I love that guy, man. He's a beast. Christian Watson is like my favorite right now, wide receiver in the whole draft.
Yeah, and again, I can't wax poetic enough about Christian Watson, but the reality here, guys, is that it's probably not going to be a Jet in real life. And I hate to say it, I would love to have him on my team, but the only way we're going to get him is if we trade up into the end of the first round. Now, could we do that? Sure, we could. We have enough capital, enough firepower to do that. But I think that's going to be the play if we plan on taking Christian Watson.
Okay, I think after taking Christian Harris and then grabbing Chad Muma, I think you go into the year with CJ, Christian Harris, Muma, Quincy Adams. I think it's looking and feeling pretty good. You got Sherwood coming back. You got Nasruddin. There's going to be competition in that linebacker room, and in the spring, which is always a good thing.
Correct.
Then you get Alec Lindstrom. You take care of your future center. You're no longer worried about what happens next year after McGovern's contract is up. If he shows to be great in OTAs, if you're really excited about him, you have the possibility and you can consider freeing up that $9 million that McGovern takes up and going and riding with Alec Lindstrom. But if not, I have no problem having him, be a development, a year of development. Donovan Knight at running back. NC State, I love that. Love the school. My brother lives 10 minutes from there.
Go Pack.
Verone McKinley, I like him. I've watched him a lot at Oregon. He was a guy, I'm on the West Coast, so I get to watch a lot of the Ducks, and he seemed to be in every play. He always seemed to do the right thing. Always had his name called for positive reasons.
Yeah, listen, he's a phenomenal safety prospect. And like I said, I think his forte in the league is going to be off the ball, playing that single high set, great man skills. He can also play in the slot in a pinch.
Yeah.
So, he lined up a lot in the slot in college. So, again, Verone McKinley's he's the anti Jamal Adams kind of safety,
Yep.
And I think it fits. I think the pick is great. I mean, the value for him here is phenomenal, but I think the pick is great with the room that we've built. You know what I mean? Because as we have it, we brought in Whitehead from Tampa Bay. We have Ashton Davis, who's who I think does better, more so blitzing in the box. You don't want to leave him in too much space because he's proved to struggle there. But in doing that, we have LaMarcus Joyner, we have Verone McKinley, who are very similar guys. They play great center field, free safety, can line up in man, can line up in the slot. So I think the pick there makes total sense.
I love it. And then for a 146, man, wouldn't that be great? A Cole Turner at 146.
Like I said, at that point I was taking value. What can we put? Where's the value for something that we don't have on the team? And Cole Turner just brings something else to the position that we don't currently have in Usama or Trey McBride. And that's the ability to split the seam and get deep and draw coverage. He's not a guy that's going to see the field a ton. I don't think right off the bat. I think he's still got a lot of learning to do on how to play the position. Because in essence, he was a slot receiver in Nevada,
right,
with the tight end label.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got Kellen Dyche. I mean, he's just going to be a tackle we throw in and, into the developmental piece. He might even be on the practice squad the first year, protected practice squad guy. And we see what happens with him. We see if he ends up, he could end up being, there's no way you can't limit guys like this. We get in the NFL, guys who end up being very solid, good starting tackles that come out of picks in this range. So
listen, I could see him falling into the swing tackle role if you choose not to bring Chuma Edoga back after next season. Mm-hmm. I've never been a fan of Edoga personally. I think the only thing he's got going for him is he's young and he's played on both sides of the line. So he's battle tested a little bit, but to me he's just a guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. He's just the guy. He's not going to be anything special. We already know that he doesn't have a particularly high ceiling. He might just fill a role. But, at the end of the day, you need guys. That's why guys are backups, and you need them. You need guys that are backups, and the question really comes is, in an emergency, if you bring them in, could they at least keep you competitive and not ruin the game for you?
Yeah, I agree. I think we did. I think with that mock off season, that hypothetical mock and our draft, are perfect complements to one another. What say you, Jeremy?
I like it. I think that, the goal is to be able to honestly believe that we can go into next year and win those 8 games, right? I mean, if it's more than that, fine, that's great. But we can't, in my mind, it's so important for us to get 8 wins. I really want to take that big step. Like we went from 2 wins to 4 wins. We look better at the end of the year. So much is going to ride on Zach, obviously, continuing his growth and taking over where he left off and not taking any steps backwards. But I see a completely different defense than I did last year in this scenario. I see a defense that now has, Carl Lawson and Kayvon Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
And what's his name from Dallas?
Gregory.
Gregory, right? So you have Randy Gregory, and I guess 3 real guys. I mean, if Kayvon works out, that's so potent and dangerous. You still got Huff.
You
right?
still and you still in a pinch, if you needed to put JFM out to rush the passer, you still have the flexibility there because you've brought in more bodies to play on the inside as well.
Yeah. So you brought in bodies on the inside. JFM could move to the inside. Quentin Williams. I mean, now we have a powerful defensive line.
I really like what we did for the defensive line. I really like the 2 linebackers we brought in, although, that probably is the most, that along with the wide receivers in this hypothetical mock off season was probably the most unrealistic thing, because I just don't know if we, well, I shouldn't even say that. I stand corrected as I'm making a statement, because last year, we drafted Hamza and Sherwood and banked on them being banked on them playing for us. So I don't know if we'd realistically go in there and take 2 second-round guys and say, hey, you're going to play important parts of our team right now, But again, in this hypothetical situation, we wouldn't have to. Barring injury, you got Mosley. We know what Quincy Williams is, and Quincy Williams, I don't know if he's I don't know if he's a true starting caliber linebacker, but he's a definitive rotational piece who can bring the heat. We don't know what Sherwood's going to be when he comes back. Hamza might be more, more delegated to special teams where he excels and playing in a pinch or in specific, passing situations, dime situations. And these other 2 linebackers that we brought in are great. I saw, a lot. I didn't read the chat throughout our whole show here, but I know the name Troy Anderson was brought up a lot, and Troy Anderson's great. He's a great athlete. He's very raw. He's still learning the position, and I have a good write-up on him that'll be posted this week on Wednesday on greenbeanjetsfan.com. Please read it, where I break down 4 linebackers, that would I think would be good fits for the Jets. And Troy Anderson was one of them,
Yeah, I mean, so I think we go in with a completely different and revamped and refreshed defensive line, which the defense is predicated on. We need that. I think we go in with with this team, if this is the way it played out, Harris and Muma with CJ, we'd have so much better linebacker play. I think the cornerback room added Hayward, but it also added defensive pressure. So so the cornerbacks, first of all, they were supposed to be the worst part of our defense, and it turned out that didn't happen.
Correct.
They were, right? Now we add another proven guy we know could play at NFL level cornerback, but more importantly, we put pressure on the quarterback now. So we take some weight off of the shoulders of our cornerbacks.
Correct.
Right? And then we go to the backside. We go to safety. We get LaMarcus Joyner. Hopefully this year he's going to play. Right? We went out.
Jordan Whitehead.
Right. We went out and got and we brought in a real guy there. And now we add Verone McKinley into the room. And we still have Ashton Davis competing and Elijah Riley if we want him competing for jobs. So now we're really deep. You even got, don't forget, Pinnock, who looked very small sample, but is probably going to be thinking about trying to win a safety position on our roster. Or just be a versatile guy who can do both. It's looking like it's a completely different defense. This is a defense that could move up significantly. We can go from 32nd and get into the 15 to 17 range overall in the NFL with this defense. I love it. And then offensively, now we give Zach Wilson a tight end. We got 2 tight ends. We give him an experienced tight end, and we give him possibly the best tight end in the 22 class. We give him 2 receivers, 2 big guys, London and Watson, 2 big, tall, strong receivers to go with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. You got to love that. We give him another running back.
Two.
In
Gave
Donovan
him two
Knight,
running backs.
and we brought in Mitchell, and we have Michael Carter back, so we have good running backs. We've bulked up the offensive line with 2 guards. We have competition now at the right guard position. 2 guys that one we knew we liked at the end of the year in LDT, but we bring in another guy who has the advantage over LDT to win the job. But then we bring in versatility with with Alec Lindstrom, because maybe he gives us more options, because maybe he ends up starting at center and we get rid of McGovern, or maybe McGovern competes for right guard also, or maybe we bring in something else with that money. It's a different team.
Correct.
And that was our goal. Our goal was to go and say, how do we completely fill the holes and reface this team? And it's not just that it's an improved team. I feel it's a much deeper team.
I agree. Like I said, the free agency kicks off tomorrow, and I can't wait to see what happened. Dollars to donuts. I would love to see JD come in, really, really hitting it hard and kind of being the quasi, the anti, Dom C mock off season. And I'd love to see some of those big names come in here. I would love to see some of these big name guys, the Allen Robinsons and the Marcus Williams of the world, come in and say it. I just realistically, if history repeats itself, I just don't know if it's in his DNA. We know he's not going to overpay. And I think there's going to be enough competition on these guys where somebody will overpay. Somebody's going to overpay for Allen Robinson. Somebody's going to overpay for DJ Chark. Somebody's going to overpay for Marcus Williams. Somebody's going to overpay for these edges that are on the board. Somebody's going to trade for Daniil Hunter and probably have to overpay for him. I just don't know if it's in. I just don't know if it's in JD's DNA. Although, I don't know if you heard it today or anyone in the chat heard it. But while I was putting one of my kids to sleep before, I was just skimming through, and I hear supposedly the Jets are going to be players on La'el Collins, the offensive lineman from Dallas, if he gets cut or possibly, as a trade. That would be phenomenal. I mean, I don't know what the cap ramifications like. I don't know what his contract is, off the top of my head. But I do know La'el Collins is a great freaking player. He's a true road grader. He's what Ikem Ekwonu we all hope to be. He's a road grading right tackle that you run behind. You just line up and run behind all day long. Yeah. So supposedly the Jets are high on him, or the Jets have done a lot of homework on him, but so have the Jaguars.
Right.
And realistically, we both have enough draft capital to make a trade. We both have enough cap room to fit his contract in. So I think it's going to be interesting.
You think why would the Giants? I mean, don't they struggle at offensive line? Why would they want to do that?
The Giants? What do you mean?
I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I mean to bring in. I'm sorry.
He's from Dallas.
Okay. My bad.
No. He's the right tackle for Dallas.
Right.
And he's a beast.
And Dallas is because of cap trouble? Like, is that why they would let him go? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do we put Fant on the bench or Becton? What do you think happens?
Listen, I don't know, to be honest with you. I think maybe. I mean, Collins can play. I know Collins played inside as a rookie, so maybe he's your fix at right guard. Right. for now until you decide what to do with Fant next year, or he's that security blanket if Mackay doesn't come back healthy.
Right.
So, yeah. But La'el Collins, he's a beast, man.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Jeffrey Reed must have read my mind.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd love to see him. And like I said, again, full disclosure, I don't know what his contract status is. I don't know how much he'll cost. Maybe somebody in the chat can do that due diligence there real quick. And
yeah, look at this. That was what I was saying before. Pinnock is going to be safety. I mean, it would really be such a deep team. The way I'm looking at this, and I'm just in shock. I'm like, wow, this is very possible. Like, because like your offseason was very realistic and very Joe Douglas like in the sense that he he has like the emotional control to just make solid picks, stay calm, fill the holes, get in season guys we can trust, and then make a splash in the draft.
There
Like,
was no, and I like I said, I did that in a calculated fashion. No long-term contracts. The longest contract we gave, excuse me, was 3 years. There was no one. There were some older guys that were brought in, but they were 1-year contracts. Guys that can fill holes, the Quentin Spains and so on and so forth. Spending money, spending smart money.
yeah,
No big splashes, but very, very workmanlike selections.
yep. And most importantly, guys who know how to ball. Let's see, what is this? Lyle Collins signed
Lyle
a
Collins
5-year.
signed a 5-year, $50 million contract with the Dallas Cowboys, including $9 million signing bonus. I don't know when that was, so just say hypothetically he's $10 million. Listen, I'd be okay. I'd still be okay with it.
Yeah.
You bring him in. You bring him in if he can play inside for 1 year, and then you make a decision if you want to,
Yeah.
if you don't extend Fant, if you want to let Fant walk, or if Mackay struggles again, so on and so forth. I mean, again, I think the goal here is to put the most talented 53 men you can on the roster to win.
Yep.
So, what does the chat got to say? I haven't been reading it.
Just they're liking some of it. Vikings signed Cousins for one more year, $35 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
they re-signed him for another year, $35 million, fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
Now,
Thomas
guys,
Cahill, what's up, buddy? He wants Algier from BYU.
BYU, good ball, but good running back.
Yep.
Quincy is a heavy hitter. I'm assuming you're talking about Quincy Williams, and
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. The dude's like a shot out of a cannon.
I think Adam is saying that's we need a completely different defense. That's what we needed. So I think he agrees with us that we needed to reface and retool that defense, and I think we did. And there are some people who loved Anderson, man, that linebacker. We were watching his tape. We all fell in love with him. He's such a smart player. He's just got such a good football IQ.
He's like I said, he's only been playing linebacker 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep. He's phenomenal. So.
Yeah. He's a special player.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps it up, I think. I know that you got something special going on tomorrow. You want to talk about that, though?
Yeah. So, I'm going to be the special sidekick, special guest, co-host for the 10 o'clock mock on Green Bean's channel tomorrow night. So I'm really looking forward to that. Something that we've had in the works for a while. I've also got a new article coming out that I wrote. It'll be posted Wednesday on the linebackers on Green Bean Jets, JetsFan.com. For those of you who don't know, I've been writing articles, an ongoing blog series called The Rough Draft, just touching on the different positions and different prospects that I think would be great. I'm not covering too far in depth. I'm only picking, 3 or 4 guys per position and really diving into them. It gave me a good opportunity to really take a look at some of these prospects. So I got that coming out Wednesday. My linebackers article is coming out Wednesday. I'll be with Green Bean tomorrow night on the Monday Night Mock, and I hope to see you guys all there.
All right, that's great. Looking forward to that tomorrow. It's always fun to watch the Monday night Green Bean mocks this year. It's been pretty awesome. I see a lot of people want me to get Jude. If Jude's available, I'll try to get him on. I got another 7th grader, a 12-year-old or so. I think he's 12 or whatever that wants to come on. He was blowing me away with how much he knew. So maybe I get him and Jude together and they could duke it out and have a dueling draft. So we'll work on that. And I'll be back for sure on Wednesday on the Wacky Wednesday show. If you don't, you'll see me before that. But my official return that's scheduled every week is the Wacky Wednesday show, where we'll have another guest. We'll have Adam, my co-host, and a lot of fun lined up. And Make sure if you're watching this, if you see a replay of this, the best thing I could ask, if you enjoyed this at all, if you found it at all informative or interesting, hit the subscribe button. I'm also going to give away some stuff. Been giving away things on different channels. Going to start randomly giving away things on this channel. You never know when it's going to happen. So hit the notification bell. Don't miss it when I'm live, because good, cool things are going to get given out. Like a Chancellor Spock action figure in the nice collectible, right? From 1995. Ambassador Spock. I keep saying Chancellor. Ambassador Spock. So I give away all kinds of fun things. Anyway, thank you so much again, Dom C. Another great show. Great job. We're going to figure out, change it around a little for next week. We'll figure it out. We'll let everybody else in on it next week. But we'll again, we want to keep it fresh, so we'll come up with some different ideas. But join us next week as we continue to duel it out, but yet come together and build a roster for the New York Jets. Take care, everybody. Be well.
I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today. You can't get rid of it.
Right. It's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.